erase this stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah, erase it. All right. How's everyone doing today? Good. Just good or what?
We sleepwalking in here? How we doing? Great.
I'm going to tell you my story where I come from, but I did time in prison, if you didn't know that. Every day people would ask me, how you doing? Or I'd ask them. They'd always say the same thing. Good, just like you guys did. I'd say, man, I'm fucking phenomenal. Bro, I'm excellent. How you doing? I'm locked up when I'm saying this, right? It was a mindset. It was my attitude. I was so grateful every day to be alive to get an opportunity to rebuild my life. You got to come into your days with that enthusiasm, with that energy, because that's what makes sales. That's what makes money. That's what changes lives. It's you. It's your energy. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple things I want to share with you guys today. I'm going to tell you a little more about my story, but I want you to get something to write with too. Make sure you have a notepad, pen. But that's so important. You're like your first impression, the way you greet people, I always pay attention to that. This morning I said good morning to a couple people and I got the same response. If you want to stand out instantaneously, make sure they remember you. Make sure they remember your energy, your eye contact, right? Your demeanor, show respect. And then another thing, like the way you take care of yourself, your habits, everything you do outside of work is going to allow you to shine in the workplace. How many of you are in sales in here? Raise your hand. Everybody's in sales. Wow. Sales is merely a transfer of energy. It's your confidence. Either your beliefs and your confidence is going to win, or you're going to let your prospects, right, their beliefs and their confidence is going to overpower you. So sales is a transfer of confidence and energy. But you can only do that at the highest level if you're taking care of yourself at the highest level. Okay? You can't show people your value if you don't have value to give or you don't believe in yourself. Sure, you can, learn scripts and you can train and do all this stuff, but what are you doing outside of work that's going to help you to feel and be at your best? That's what I teach people, because whether you want to make more money, grow in your business, whatever you want to do, it first starts with your personal development, okay? Now, before I get into this, I want you just to look at these words: mindset, habit, stress, relationships. I want you to think of your life. I want you to think of your life right now, and on a scale of 1 to 10, rate each one of these. 1 is low, 10 is high. I want you to write down, give yourself a score. We're going to go through this. So 1 is like, man, my mindset, I have no discipline, I have horrible self-talk. My mental health is just shit, right? A 10 is the best it could be. I'm super disciplined, I believe in myself, nothing can stop me. Same with your daily habits, same with your stress. Now, 1 is low, that's a good score for stress. 1 is like, I have no stress, I'm chilling, I'm cool. 10, stress is through the roof. I'm anxious, I'm taking meds, I'm smoking weed, whatever you do, right? Now, before I talk about that though, the way I got here, you guys, is I've been on a crazy journey, right? I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, and I grew up loving sports, loving life. From 0 to 10 years old, everything was beautiful for me. I had cousins, friends, I'd play sports, like every day after school, we'd be in the street throwing the football. I played basketball, football, I surfed. I loved life. And then at the age of 10, I started noticing my parents were messed up. I started realizing they were different than my aunts and uncles, my friends' parents, and come to find out they were battling addiction. They were both addicted to drugs and alcohol. And I started seeing bad things, like them fight. I saw my mother overdose several times in front of me. And then at the age of 14, I lost both my parents. I lost my dad to the police in state prison. He got in a standoff with the cops. He had a gun out in the street, and I thought he was going to die right in front of us. And then he went to prison, and shortly after that, my mom just disappeared. She stopped coming home, she found a new boyfriend, and I lost both my parents. So at 14, I was completely broken. I had no parents, no direction. My whole world was turned upside down. And in that moment, I literally felt like it was the end of my life. I didn't know how to cope and deal with the emotional trauma I was going through. Because at that young age, I'm still trying to figure out who I am as a person, right? Like my identity, how am I gonna be in high school? I'm a freshman in high school. And so I had so much shame and so much guilt. And I started getting high myself. I found that when I smoked weed, when I drank, it would numb out that pain. So I stopped going to school. I never played sports in school. Like, I'm a kid who, growing up, I wanted to be a professional athlete. That was my dream. And I didn't play sports at all in high school. And I started hanging out with the wrong kids. I started getting in trouble. And all of a sudden, those years of my life were just passing me by. I didn't know that what I was doing, I was just running from the inevitable, right? The reality was I lost my parents. The reality was my parents were drug addicts. The reality was my home life fell apart. But when I would get high and numb myself and check out, I didn't have to face reality. So from 14 all the way to 23, that's what I did. And then at 23, I was at a party, chasing girls, drinking, partying, doing what I did, and a big old fight broke out. And all these guys were fighting, and I got brought into the melee. I got tackled, I was being jumped, and I was wrestling around with this guy that ended up being stabbed. So I stood up in front of a crowd like this of people. No one saw the initial attack. They just saw me covered in this guy's blood. And I ran. I was scared. Everyone started running. My friend, the one person I went to the party with, was calling my name. And as I got closer to him, man, I was just under the streetlight, and I was just dripping head to toe in blood. He said, "What happened, man? What did you do?" I was like, "I didn't do anything, I didn't do anything." And so we ran and we went to his house, and then the next day I was charged with attempted murder. The cops came, SWAT team, forensic unit, they had AR-15s pointed at my head, and they arrested me. And I thought they were just trying to press me for information, that they were gonna try to get me to tell on whoever did the crime. But I didn't even see what happened. It was a big crowded party, everyone was drinking, it was dark out. And so a couple weeks go by and nothing's changing. They're still saying, "We know you did it, we're charging you with attempted murder," and nothing was happening for me. And so at 23, I was facing life in prison for a crime I didn't commit. So you guys, the stuff I tell you isn't something I just read from a book, some bullshit some other guru on social media shared. All that stuff's true, but I lived it. I had to develop self-mastery and figure out this stuff out of mere survival. Like, my life was on the line. And I remember just being locked up in this cell every day at 23. I mean, the cell was this big, 6 by 8. And I'm living in it with another person. I never left that cell for 8 months, fighting for my life before they actually sent me to prison. And I remember in that moment, I just started thinking about my life. I remember who I was when I was a boy and what I wanted to do with my life. I remember the dreams I had. Like, all of you growing up, you had that feeling, right? Where you felt like the world was just at your fingertips, like any opportunity you wanted, anything you wanted to do was feasible. But somewhere along the way, you stopped believing and you settled. We've all done it. And here's the thing, just because you gave up on that dream doesn't mean that you can't, reinvigorate those passions inside you and live with more purpose going forward. It doesn't matter what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, okay? So I remember in this moment sitting in my cell just thinking about all the stuff I wish I had done, all the things I would have done differently. I started thinking about my parents, my friends, my home life, all this stuff, just these thoughts racing through my mind. In that moment, the pain that I felt in the form of regret was the worst pain I'd ever known. It was the worst pain you could ever imagine, knowing your life was over at 23 and you didn't live the life that you wanted to live. I lived out of fear, right? I lived out of pain and trauma and denial. I settled for a version of myself that when I looked in the mirror, I was disgusted with, because I knew that I had so much more to give to life. I had so much more that I could have attempted and tried. What if I just tried? What if I pushed harder? What if I didn't let the fear stop me? Like, these were the thoughts that started to come to my awareness. And so the main thing I want to stress to you guys is this life is fucking short. And you hear that all the time. But if you woke up tomorrow and you found out you had a tumor in your brain and the doctors are like, "There's nothing we could do," you would have these thoughts. You would know what I'm saying right now, right? If you lost a loved one, or maybe you go home after drinking on a Friday night, you hit somebody. Now you're in jail for manslaughter. They're telling you 25 years. Like, this happens to people all the time. I got friends that are in there right now. So look, you got to take this seriously. And these moments are so precious. The people you're with, these opportunities that you have, this is the mindset, like understanding that this moment right here is so precious. These moments that you have together, the people at home, like every opportunity you get, you gotta take it seriously, okay? Because if something happened, you would understand what I'm saying. My biggest struggle and my biggest challenge is helping people to feel what I feel. Because that moment changed my life forever. It changed the way I think, it changed the way I look at life. It created this insatiable desire inside of me to push far beyond what I thought was possible. And so in that moment, I made a choice. I had two choices. I could be a victim and give up. That's what I had done my whole life. I was a victim and I was in denial. Or I could take it upon myself to go down this other path. This path that inside of me I've been called to travel my whole life. This path that I ignored. This feeling inside of me. It's the unknown. That's why we hold back. Like, it's the person we want to be, but we don't know that that's a sure thing. So we settle for something known. What do we settle for? Mediocrity. Right? We half-ass life because the known is safer. Our biggest fear as human beings is the unknown, okay? So we stay safe and comfortable. So in that moment, I made 2 promises to myself. The first, that I was gonna give my best effort and I was gonna be my best self to life. Like I was gonna be my true self every moment going forward. It didn't matter if I was doing life in prison, 20 or 30 years. I had to be that person for me. Here's the thing, you gotta do it for you. It's not for everybody else. Eventually you get to impact those lives, but you have to look in the mirror and be like, I love that person. That's my true self. That's the person God's calling me to be. It's the best feeling in the world when you finally just surrender to that feeling inside and you commit to that path in life. Very few do. I'm saying 1%, less than 1% do. You know who they are. You see them on TV, you see them in the movies, you look up to them. Maybe you work for them, okay? Very few people do because they're scared, and it's the unknown. Now, the second promise I made to myself was that I was gonna be sober for the rest of my life, that I was never gonna touch drugs and alcohol ever again. I had abused drugs and alcohol for 10 years. It ruined my life. It took both my parents' life. Countless friends died and overdosed by taking pills and drinking late into the night. Accidental overdose, but it happens to a lot of people. So that was 12 years ago. I've been sober ever since. These 2 promises were my foundation. I knew that if I didn't make that promise and commitment to myself, I had no chance to overcome this life sentence. I had no chance at success in my life. You guys, success in the form of money, opportunity, all this stuff that we see externally, it starts internally. It's a reflection of who you are. The more you develop yourself, the more that you're gonna see success in your external world, okay? But you're never gonna reach the levels that you wanna be at in life if you don't even have mastery over self and you're not even living as that person you need to be. Okay, so this is the mindset. This is the mindset that I'm talking about. It's your perspective, it's your self-talk. I mean, the way that I was able to take control of my life in that cell was really being aware of how I was talking to myself. Because every day I'd wake up and the first thing I would think about was how horrible this was. You know, how nobody believed me. How I was gonna spend all this time in prison. Poor me, right? God, why is this happening to me? But I realized I was just acting like a victim. And those thoughts weren't gonna free me from that cell. They weren't gonna change anything. So I had to shift my thinking. And see, this is people's biggest problems. They're walking around all day long with this negative self-talk, right? You're getting pissed off at people in traffic, getting mad at your kids. Oh, you're mad because it's Monday and you got to get up and go to work, right? How about you get to go to work and make money? How about you get to sit in traffic? You know, you're lucky just to have a car. You're lucky to live in America. You're lucky to have these opportunities. It's a shift in your perspective, right? So that's what I started doing in that cell. I remember I was just, man, I was facing like so much internal turmoil. You know, I was facing so many negative thoughts every day. And one day I just thought to myself, Sean, what if you needed this time in prison? Like, what if you really needed to come to prison and this is gonna save your life? What if this is gonna help you to get sober and you would have died of an accidental overdose? Or what if coming to jail is a blessing in disguise and it's gonna help you get away from all those toxic and dysfunctional relationships? Like, what if this experience is gonna save your life? Can you imagine being incarcerated at 23, 24, having this breakthrough in your thinking and believing it to be true? Like, this is everything. The way we talk to ourselves and our perspective. Anything that you go through throughout your day or in your life can either be a negative working against you or a positive that's gonna help you. You get to pick and choose what you believe is true, right? So when you're going through a tough situation, whether it's on a call, at home with your family, in life in general, start getting in the habit of asking yourself, how can I learn and grow from this situation? Like, take a step back, don't get emotional, don't react. How can I learn and grow from this situation? And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find an opportunity or a solution that you didn't see otherwise. This is a growth mindset. Too many people get caught up talking shit in their head about other people, judging things, thinking negatively about their life. You have no shot at success or to live a fruitful, fulfilling life if you do that. You're doing it to yourself. Most people walk around habitually with negative thoughts about themselves and their life. Why is that? I want to ask you guys, why do you think that is? Because I know we all struggle with it. I still do. I battle every day. Every day I battle internally. We all do. It's part of the human condition. Most people lose that battle every day. Why do you think that is?
I think it's easier to blame other people and factors than to take accountability for your own stuff.
Does that change the circumstances in your favor? No, right? It just kind of brushes the responsibility off to someone else. Yeah, but it comes down to how you're actually living, your daily habits. If you're not doing things that make you feel really proud of yourself, that make you like love who you are, it's really hard to see the good in the world. When you're breaking promises to yourself, when you're not going to the gym, when you're not eating clean, when you're not doing the things you know you should be doing, you start to have negative internal dialogue. That's your conscience trying to get your fucking attention. Hey, dummy, get up and go to the gym. You said you were going to, right? Hey, man, you said you were going to eat clean. New year, new me. What happened? The negative internal dialogue we experience is your truth. The only way you change that is by the way you live. You want to get to a point where you look in the mirror like, damn, I love that guy. That's the person I want to be. How do you think your energy is felt on a sales call when you show up as that man or woman? Right? 10 out of 10, closing every deal, easy. Sales is easy when you learn to master yourself. Business is easy when you learn to master yourself. Relationships are easy when you learn to master yourself. But they're not when you struggle with self. When you habitually do things that make you feel bad about yourself, it's really hard to show up in life and get the best results. I remember in jail, I had nothing, okay? I was living in a jumpsuit or a white pair of boxers all day long. I never left. I had like a scratch paper and some random books they would give me from time to time. And oftentimes the chapters were ripped out of the books. Some asshole would rip the chapters out. He thought it was funny, right? And I remember just one day I woke up and I had gone through this massive shift in my thinking and I asked myself, what can I do in this cell to better myself today? Like, what can I do in this tiny little cell to better myself today? That was all I had. In the whole world, that moment was all I had. You see, we get so caught up thinking about the past, worrying about the future. And I was doing this too, right? The judge wanted me to send me to prison for life. My lawyer didn't care. The DA hated me. All these people at the party were telling on me. Even my best friend cooperated. He knew I was innocent, but he sided with the cops to get out of his deal, right? Because he was charged with accessory. So can you imagine if I just sat in there pissed off all day long and resentful towards them? That would have just drained my energy. It would have made me feel that much worse. So I realized I had to block all that stuff out and just focus on what was in the moment. What could I do in this moment? And so I found a couple things I could start to do that helped me to build momentum in that cell. Every morning I'd get up and I'd clean that cell. I started cleaning that cell like it was a palace. And it sounds funny when I say that to people, but I took so much pride in cleaning my jail cell. You guys, the way you do things in your life is so important, okay? Taking pride in the smallest tasks, doing it like it's the most important thing in your life, that carries over into other parts of your life. You start to condition yourself to be someone that gives maximal effort to everything that you do, okay? This is a 7- and 8-figure skill set that you need to develop right now. Because if you half-ass small things, you're gonna half-ass big things, okay? So I'd clean my cell, and then I'd go into my workout. I would work out for an hour, and then I would read and I would write. I would read whatever book they gave me, and I'd write letters home. I started writing creative stories, short stories, even poetry, right? I never knew that I liked to write, but I discovered that about myself in jail. Now, when I was doing these things, though, I wasn't just going through the motion, half-assing this stuff. When I would work out, I would give my all. Like it was the last day I had arms and legs. I'd be pouring sweat, just dying on that floor, doing push-ups, burpees, squats, whatever I could do. And in the moment, I kept telling myself, man, I'm so blessed right now. I get to do this workout. I'm so blessed. I have arms, I have legs. Like other people are in wheelchairs. Other people don't have the function of their body. I get to work out. I get to. And then when I'd start reading my book, I'd sit down on my rack and I'd be reading my book. Again, I'd tell myself, man, I'm so grateful that I get to read this book. My eyes work. You know, I could see. Some people are blind right now. I can use my imagination. I can comprehend what I'm reading. Some people can't even read. Some people don't have books in this world. I get to read this book. I get to. And then lastly, when I was writing my letters back home, I was so blessed to have the love and support from my family. You know, I wasn't going to overlook that. I was facing life in prison. Everyone else disappeared. But I had a couple family members that wrote me every day. And I'd write those letters. And again, I'd tell myself, I get to write these letters home. I get to. Like, I love and support. I'm so blessed. And so every chance I got, I was cultivating a gratitude perspective. I wasn't worried about all the things happening to me, all the things outside of my control. I was focused on what I could control. And because of this, I started to see the world differently. I started to feel differently. And after 8 months of that daily routine, my entire life transformed. I wasn't waking up in the morning with these negative thoughts that I couldn't control. I wasn't looking in the mirror disappointed at who I was or ashamed of the person I'd become. I started to love myself. I started to love who I was becoming, and I started to feel in control of my life. Can you imagine this, facing life in prison, that tiny little cell, and I'm in control? Because here's the thing. The guards, the judge, the lawyers, they couldn't take this feeling from me. They could lock me up in the smallest cell. They could take away everything, all my amenities, my loved ones, but they couldn't take away the feeling that I was cultivating about myself. And if you've ever read the book, Man's Search for Meaning, anybody? By Viktor Frankl, he talks about this. He was locked up in a concentration camp during World War II by the Nazis. They were just starving them. People were dying left and right. And he said the one thing that human beings always have control over is the right to choose their attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's what you have control over, your effort and your attitude every day. You don't have control over anything else. But if you're walking in here saying, oh, I'm good, you know, like you slept in today, you didn't go to the gym, you're eating like shit, like what are you doing? You have one body, one mind. How do you think you achieve success in life? It's not just money. It's your physique, it's your mental health, it's your relationships. It's multifaceted. If you're walking around and you're just not taking care of yourself, if you're not doing things every day to learn and to grow, how do you expect to level up in life? You have to develop that foundation. Okay, so I did, and by the time they sent me to prison for 7 years, I was ready. My mindset wasn't like, oh man, I'm scared, how's this happening to me? My mindset was that I was gonna go to prison, I was gonna make every day count, and when I came home, I was gonna do anything I wanted with my life. Like I looked at this as the biggest challenge, the most monumental challenge I would ever face, and I told myself, if you can overcome this, Sean, nothing's gonna stop you in life. And so when I went to prison, I just continued on that same path. Worked out every day, educated myself. They had college correspondence programs. I got 4 associate's degrees at that time. And every day I was just focused, and I was just like a machine. I developed so much discipline. I'd wake up, I'd work out, I'd read, I would write. Every day I was just in attack mode. And the other guys started noticing. They started gravitating towards me. And I started mentoring other inmates. Honestly, it was the coolest thing because the first 3 years I was just tunnel vision. I didn't want anything to do with anyone else because that's how you start getting in trouble. But then these youngsters would come up and ask me about my workouts, if they could work out with me, or what books I was reading, or the college courses I was taking. And so I started showing them. And I started seeing these guys change before my eyes. They started to talk differently. They started to move differently. They were reading. They were working out. They were getting in good shape. And that's when I discovered this is my purpose. I want to make an impact on the world. I want to be of service. I want to share my story with the world to help change and save lives. And in that moment, my purpose was unveiled to me. You know, and a lot of times people are like, man, what's my purpose in life? What am I supposed to do? You know, and I tell them all the same thing. Initially, your purpose is to become your best self. Whatever it is you're being called to do or whoever you're being called to become, that's your purpose. And over time, the longer you traverse that path, a greater calling will be unveiled for you. There'll be opportunities, relationships. You don't even know where you could be in 5 years from now, okay? This could just be a stepping stone, right? Become the best salesperson in your company, break records, show up every day with the best attitude, impact and inspire everyone around you. Watch what comes your way. The universe responds to the energy that you put out. You come in here and you just crush it, I'm telling you, you be the best employee, the best salesperson, the best man, the best woman you ever could be. Watch what happens in your life. But don't stop here. Do it at home. Do it with your kids. Get up and do it at the gym. Attack your life. I promise you, I'm living proof. Look at me. Drug addict parents, broken home, addicted to drugs and alcohol for 10 years, life in prison. How the fuck did I get here? Are you serious? This is my life? I get to travel and hang out with cool people and share my story, hit stages, change lives. I have a coaching program that's a 7-figure coaching program. I have employees, I have clients in every state, right? I speak on stages. They pay me to go and speak about my story. How the fuck does this kid do that? Like, this is what happens when you dedicate your life to that path. I'm telling you, it requires faith and courage every day. I wake up, that voice is still in there, sleep in. Oh, you don't got to do it. Right? Just wait till tomorrow. Fuck that. I kill that voice through action, right? Those moments where you start doubting yourself, oh man, can I pull it off? Are they going to see like how good I am, or am I good enough to compete with those guys? You have to kill the doubt and the fear every day through positive action. It's the internal battle that we all face. And the results that you have in life are going to be a reflection of who's winning that internal battle, right? The person you want to be or the person that you end up settling for. It's your choice every day, but it's moment to moment and it's every day. Every day. You can't just let a day go by where your intention is to not be your best self. So the first step is write out, who is that person? Let's do that right now. I want you to draw a line down the middle of your paper. On the right side at the top, write my best self. And on the left side, write the person I will settle as. Now on the right side where it says your best self, I want you to just like really take a moment. And you got to be honest with yourself here because most people are scared to acknowledge who they want to be. We're scared of being judged. We're scared of sounding, right? Like, oh, look at this guy. Who the fuck are you to dream so big, right? We're so worried about being judged or we're worried about writing stuff down that we don't believe we can achieve. You got to circumvent that fear right now and just write down what your truth is, okay? On that right side, write down if you could just like close your eyes and see your dream life, right? Imagine the life of your dreams, like that person that God is calling you to become, that person in your heart that you feel like you want to be. Write down all the details about that individual, right? Where do they live? What are they doing for work? Do they have children? Are they married? You know, write down all the details of that person. Like, are you fit? Are you healthy? What's your mindset like? How much money are you making? Your job from this moment going forward every day is to embody that person. The results aren't going to appear overnight. It's not going to be easy. You have to start building momentum now. Every day when you wake up, this man or woman has to be on your awareness. How does she think? How does he move? How does he talk? How are they living their lives? Moment to moment, you have to ask yourself, how would my higher self handle this situation? Integrity and the things that you do when no one's looking is so important. Okay, and it's not for other people initially, it's for yourself. So that you're not doing things that you feel ashamed about or that you regret. Now on the other side of the paper, I want you to write down all the things in your life that you want to cut out, that you don't want to do anymore. I don't want to drink. I don't want to overeat. I don't want to sleep in. I don't want to take the weekends to just sit on my ass. Whatever it is, I don't want to be irritable around my kids. I don't want to cut corners. What is the stuff in your life right now that you need to cut out and eradicate? Write that down on the other side of the paper. Why aren't you writing? I'm just curious.
Her life has changed drastically. My life has changed. Her life is amazing.
Is it? I love that. So what? We still got work to do. No? You're good? It might be one thing. The moment we stop thinking we have room to grow is the moment that we jeopardize everything. But I'm happy for you, and I'd like to know what that is later. Okay. What I'd recommend is you get up in the morning, you save that paper, and you look at it, and you make a decision that day about who you're going to be. The way you start your day is so important. If you just get up and rush out the door, slam back a monster, take the kids to school and show up here, you're at a severe disadvantage. You need an hour, 30 minutes of time to really collect your thoughts, get your energy right. I like to work out before I have to talk to anyone. You see me before I work out and I don't really want to talk to you. I'm just like, I work out and I have time alone. I'm very outgoing. I want to know about you. I want to talk to you. It gets my energy right. Because I did something that made me feel proud of myself. Now I want to know about you. I can transfer that love to other people. Right? Like sales, you get up early, you have time for yourself, and you start training your mind, you do a workout, you'll close way more deals. The customers will feel your energy. They'll want to buy from you even if you're more expensive just because they like the way you make them feel. Right? Lance shared about that earlier. It's a perception of value. I don't want to be the cheapest person anyway. I want to be the most expensive. I want to attract those people that see my value, right? That understand what I could do for them. So I want to ask on like 2 or 3 people. When you look at that list, how far are you from that guy on the right?
A long way.
Okay. It's okay, now you have awareness, right? So the first step is being honest with yourself about who you want to be. What are the things right now that you need to cut out of your life?
I need to be more disciplined.
Be honest. What's on that list, bro? The best thing you could do is get to a point where you can just tell the whole world all the stuff wrong with you and all the stuff you want to be. Full transparency. What are you worried about? Being judged? Everyone in here is going to die anyway. Everyone in here struggles with the same stuff. I do every day. I found that when I'm fully honest and transparent, it allows me to show up in life and start making changes. But if I hold that stuff in, it's harming myself, and I can never change. What's on there? Read it.
So wait, which side, the right or left?
Read all the negative stuff, because look, a lot of times in order to start building momentum and changing, it's easier to start cutting out the bad habits first. The other stuff take time to develop the skill sets, the mindset, the habits, but you can't do it if you have all this baggage. It's like trying to swim in the ocean with an anchor around your ankle. You're just treading water. right? Let's sever that anchor right now, bro. So what's on that list?
So, I mean, I do feel that I'm not very much that disciplined, and then also, I don't go to the gym as much as I should be. I gotta be more disciplined with that as well. Um, my habits as well, I do want to cut that out. And then my right is just, like I said, getting in better shape, and then trying to be as, successful as I can.
So this is how easy it is, right? I love that you shared that. Thank you. A lot of times, by getting up early and working out, those two things can change your entire life. Everyone thinks it's like all this stuff or all this stuff they don't know. It's all the shit you know you should be doing. The difference is how you feel at the end of the day. If you go through a day and you do all the stuff you know you should do, the result is feeling proud of yourself. That's how you cultivate self-love. That will change your entire life. Versus the guy that goes to sleep thinking, oh, I should have went to the gym. Oh, I need more discipline. What you're doing is you're literally sabotaging who you could be. You're just in your own way. So you need to start getting up every day and working out before you come in here. Make a commitment to go 5 days a week. On the weekend, you can recover and do something else. But that's how you form discipline, is by doing the hard shit every day. And after a while, you start to feel good about yourself. You see your body changing. Then you become addicted to that process, not addicted to not doing it, right? Our brain loves patterns. Our brain loves habits. Whatever you consistently do, it's going to gravitate towards. But the easiest way that I teach guys to forge real discipline in their lives is 3 things. An early wake-up time that's uncomfortable, because what message does that send to your subconscious mind? That you got work to do, that you're a purpose-driven man, that sleep and comfort is not where you want to be because you have stuff to do in your life, right? You got to train your mind to see this. The second thing is going to the gym and working out. Doing something difficult early in the day that makes you feel good about yourself is a catalyst for growth throughout that entire day. And lastly is nutrition. Most people abuse food. Food is the most widely abused substance in America. That and social media. They're neck and neck right now. Now, it doesn't matter if it's heroin, Instagram, or a fucking donut. It affects your brain the same way, right? Food is more acceptable in society. Social media, everyone's doing it, right? But when you put a needle in your arm, now people are like, oh, that guy's got a problem. They're the same thing, okay? People are still affected by them. People are still using them for the same reasons. You're numbing something out. It's a coping mechanism, okay? If you start disciplining yourself with what you eat, it'll be a massive level up. Massive level up. I haven't eaten dessert. I made a promise to myself I'm never going to eat dessert ever again. And people have little kids too, right? And they're like eating ice cream. They're like, Dad, you want some ice cream? I'm like, no, Dad doesn't eat that. And people are like, why? Why'd you do that? I'm fucking 35. You know how much dessert I've had in my life? I don't need more. Like, I'm cool, right? The way I feel, being able to say no to certain foods and just focus on foods that make me feel good, that fuel me, that give me mental clarity, it's a massive level up. Because I know that I'm not a slave to anything. I'm not a slave to my phone, TV, food, all this stuff that holds us back. Like, I don't want anything to have control over me. The worst feeling is late at night when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, should I have the ice cream? And then that other voice, right? Your higher self's like, nah, fuck the ice cream. And then you're sitting there like, but damn, like just one scoop, I worked out hard today. And you start going back and forth in that battle, right? And then what do? You give in to the impulse, right? Every time we do that, we weaken our resolve and our discipline. You can never show up in life and master all this shit in our path, all these challenges, and create success if you can't make a decision about what you're gonna eat. It's almost funny when we break it down like that, but you all struggle with it. Every single one of you in here. I did too for years. I was a drug addict for years. I just chose the dark path every time. I didn't even negotiate back then. I was like, drugs, yeah, alcohol, yeah. Then when I started wanting to change, I started becoming aware of this internal battle. And then the food thing, it was hard. Like, cake, oh no, I want to be shredded. Cake, nah, man, like, and I'd eat the cake. Finally, I just made the decision, I'm all or nothing. I'm going down this path 100%. And the things that I even think about in my head and the stuff that I do when no one's around is the most important to me. Like when I wake up, my thoughts, stuff that I'm doing when no one's around. Like I want to be in 100% integrity and alignment for myself, right? Because that allows me to show up as the best version of myself. Who else? Who else wants to share on their list? Don't be nervous now. Let's hear it.
I want to stop smoking.
Good man. What are you smoking, cigarettes?
Cigarettes, yeah. More than half my life.
Okay. How much a day?
Half a day.
Okay.
Since I was 12, 13 years old, I'm 33.
Okay.
I'm more active with the kids and my family. I kind of wrap myself around in my own thoughts through the day. As I get home, I'm really not aware.
Mm-hmm.
They see it with me. I really don't see the problem until I'm told recently. And stopping
Okay. Good stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing. That's probably like everyone has a couple of negative habits that they battle with. It affects home life, and then it affects your mental health. So you got to cut the cigarettes out unless you want to die early and leave your kids and your family. You're just putting yourself in jeopardy, right? So you have to know that. The family time is so crucial. My number one goal in 2024, like I have financial goals, I have goals in business, all that stuff. My top goal, my number one goal I wrote down is put your fucking phone away at 4:30 p.m. I had this moment of clarity the other day, right? Like I've hustled and worked so hard since I got out of prison. Yeah, we want to make money. Yeah, we want to build and create shit. That's how we're built, right? But I was like, man, you go home and like you'll check a message here, you'll check a message there. I'm not present. I got a 3-year-old baby boy, Preston. My daughter Scarlett's 4, and my stepson Mason's 13. And my wife. You think they want me to come home after working all day and being gone on trips and then being on my phone, right? When they ask me something, huh? Yeah, that's cool. They hear the tone in our voices, right? They know when we're not there. So I just had this moment of clarity where I'm like, these little moments after work are so precious and this time flies by so fast. How could I ever just give that up to check a message? I could do that later. I never want to look back on my life and realize I could have done something better or I could have given more effort to a part of my life. So when I get home, I take my phone and I just put it in the back of the house and I don't look at it again until right before bed. And honestly, the difference in my interactions with them has drastically improved, but the way I feel, just in general, has increased. Because I know that I'm being the man that I'm supposed to be. Like, I'm giving my all to this life. There's no excuses. And my limiting belief was like, oh yeah, I'm growing my business. I gotta hustle. Like, yeah, I'm the number one person people reach out to. I gotta respond right away. That was a limiting belief. That would have kept me stuck at that level I was at in life. But if I want to go here, where my vision's calling me to go, I got to make the necessary changes. The man that I want to be doesn't need his phone after 4:30 p.m. The man that I want to be is the guy on his deathbed and his kids and his wife are saying, that was the best dad, the best man that I've ever known. Like, he was always with us. He always gave us that time and attention. Nothing was more important than us. When his phone would ring, he'd throw it away and he'd still keep talking to us. I don't want them to say, yeah, he was a good dad, you know, he worked a lot, but, and in their head they have that memory of me being on my phone, me working, me not being there. That's more important to me than any money or any accolades. Who we share our lives with, that's the most important thing, our relationships. Nothing else even compares. You know, Lance said something to me one time that hit me really hard, and he talks about it a lot. He goes, Sean, when you die, most of the people you know aren't going to make it to your funeral, right? You guys have heard this story. Have you heard it? He says most of them will send a card or flowers, but they got more important shit to do, right? It's their life. And he goes, you know, your wife and kids will be there, but about 6 months after you die, you know, your wife's going to start moving on. And he's like, you want her to. You don't want her to be alone for the rest of your life. He goes, your kids are going to be the ones that think of you and remember you every day till the day you die, or they die. They're going to be the ones leaving flowers on your funeral, posting pictures of you on social media, looking at your picture, crying, missing you. And oftentimes, the people closest to us are the ones that we neglect the most in our lives. Chasing money, chasing success. So you guys, if you don't have control of your mindset and your habits, you're going home still thinking about work. You don't have the mental discipline and the willpower to turn that switch off. Your mind is weak. Why is your mind weak? Because you're fucking smoking. You can't even say no to a cigarette? Probably with food too. You start going to the gym every day, bro. You get up early every day. You keep those commitments to yourself. You quit smoking. Watch how much easier it is to put that phone away at the end of the day. You have to recognize this. And it's hard when you're starting because you do got to make money too. You got to hustle. You want to take care of them, right?
Same memory with my father.
But you have to draw the line. Where's that line going to stop? Is it 5 p.m.? Is it 4 p.m.? Or what? You're going to look back in 10 years and wish you would have that opportunity again? It starts right now. Everything that you wrote down on that piece of paper, that's the person you have to be when you walk out of this room. And not just sometimes. It'll be sometimes if you leave this room and then you don't get up tomorrow morning and look at that paper. I go to events and speak all the time. People come up after. They're so inspired. They're so excited. I talk to them 3 months later. They're the same. Same shit. They go to another event 6 months later, get all fired up, get all excited, write down pages of notes. But nothing changes. They don't change their daily habits. They don't know what's at stake. You guys don't know what's at stake. I want to be able to transfer that feeling to you. If you knew that pain that I felt in that cell, you would change everything instantly. You would never smoke again. You would go to the gym every day. You'd put your phone down when you got home. Pain is the #1 motivating factor in this world. because we see the success, we envision it, and part of us doesn't believe we can attain it. But we do know what that pain feels like. We've experienced it, right? So we have to use that to drive us into the positive actions that will change our lives. Whatever it is, when you were young, you were bullied, right? You lost your parents like I did. Whatever it is, like you went through a breakup, you lost a job, use those painful moments to drive you. Because I'm here to tell you, you're all way more capable than you probably give yourselves credit for. You can change and transform and improve every day till you die. Imagine who you'll be in 10 years. In 10 years, all of you. 10 years goes by like that. That's nothing. That's a decade, right? 12 years ago, I started my journey. At 23, getting locked up. Imagine where you'd be in 5 years if you just do what you know you should do. This is where most people, they lack like awareness. Like if you just do what you know you should do and you cut out the stuff you shouldn't do, your whole life will progressively improve. It's not something that you don't know. It's not like this big change that's going to happen overnight. It's incremental. It's day by day. Okay? So I know we haven't really got too much stuff on the board, and I want to respect everyone's time. How much more time do we have, Sean? We got a little bit more time?
Yeah, we have a little more time.
Okay, who else? This is important. Who else wrote something down they want to share right now? Let's hear it, brother.
I want to be free of financial insecurity. Like that, I feel like that stressor, that measures, like so many decisions for me, right? It can just, it influences my behavior and what I feel about my own belief system to such a great extent. I feel like it's the biggest weight on me that I have.
Okay, appreciate you sharing. Are you struggling financially month to month?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it out there, safe place. I'm not hiding from anything. And most people,
You got to lead by example, man. Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm a drug addict.
Okay.
I've also been in prison. And a big part of that prison sentence has to do with why I feel the way that I do, with this financial insecurity that I drag around me. And, it's all my doing. I don't look to blame anybody for it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't own a part of me today. And I hate that. So I really do.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. Honesty is like literally the first step to change. Are you sober right now, or are you actively using?
No, sober.
How long?
4.5 years.
So don't ever say you're a fucking alcoholic and addict ever again. You're not. You've changed. This is a misconception in society. I'm not an alcoholic or an addict. I've been sober 12 years. I completely transformed. Does that mean I'm going to go drink? Hell no. Because I will never jeopardize the life that I've created. But stop identifying that way. I used to go to AA all the time, and I see a bunch of miserable people in there. A lot of inspiring people, too. But they still identify, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. No, you're not. You've been sober 20 years, idiot. Stop talking about yourself that way, first of all. Stop it. You're sober. You overcame a lot of adversity in your life. Like, mad respect for you. You got to start painting this picture of your ideal best self. And who is that man? I'm telling you, man, it's so important. And then with the financial stuff, like, I remember during COVID, I was doing in-person training, and my wife had just given birth to Scarlett. She was like a newborn, like this big. And she was pregnant with Preston. Like, I don't know how the hell that happened, but it happened right after. So I had 3 kids, and COVID shut the gym down and took away all my clients and all my revenue overnight. I'd only been out of prison like a year and a half. We had $1,500 in our bank account. And in that moment, I was like, damn, what am I going to do? You know, this isn't the way it was supposed to be. And I was so close to just calling my uncle and going back to the old job I used to do. I used to trim trees and climb trees when I was younger. I was his foreman. And in that moment, I was like, man, Sean, you've come too far to go back now. Like, look at all the stuff you've overcome. And I just had to believe that if I continued on that path, that somehow, some way it would work out. Right? And I pivoted. I took my business online. I started sharing on social media my story. And that next month, I had the best financial month ever, and I took off from there. So my whole life changed by making that decision. But for you, if you're constantly worrying about the finances and you're like hyper-focused on it, sometimes when we really focus on something too much and we're like stressing out over it, we prevent ourselves from attaining it. It's crazy, but it's true, right? Imagine the perspective every day you wake up, you're like, thank you, God. Second chance, baby. I'm giving my all. I'm not in prison. I'm sober. Thank you. And you just see all the good in your life. And you go into your day with that energy and that perspective. It's hard for people to recognize this, but I guarantee that guy will make more money than the guy that's stressing over money. I'm telling you, it's the energy you put out. I promise you that. This is the hardest thing for people to understand. A lot of this stuff happens, and it's invisible. It happens like unconsciously. You're sending out a message into the world that you're broke, that you're struggling by the way you're thinking and feeling. You got to shift your perspective, okay? Not just that, but what's your stress level right now? 1 out of 10, where is it? Probably like, yeah, see? You know, you're going to create some type of cancer or tumor inside your body from stressing that much. And not just that, but like this life, you got to see the good in what you have. Because that's going to allow you to show up and be more focused, more productive, better energy. You know, when you're leading your guys and doing team meetings, they're going to feel it. There's a ripple effect that takes place. But if you're waking up every day and you're stressed over finances and you're fearful and you're worried about that, that's the energy you're putting out into the world. You're sober, you're alive. Second chances, leading people. Like, step into that role, embrace that feeling. I promise you that's going to have a ripple effect into your results later on in life. Yeah, man, absolutely. Anybody else want to share? Anybody else on what we wrote down? And we can kind of get into this too. I mean, I use this to gauge where everyone's at, because if your mindset's a low score, it's probably because you're not doing things every day in your habits that you know you should do. And when you're not doing things that make you feel proud of yourself, you don't love who you are, the stress is going to accumulate much faster. Life circumstances are going to affect you more. You're going to get mad in traffic. You're going to worry about money. You're going to get pissed when your daughter spills milk on the ground. Like all this stuff that is trivial, if you really think about it, it affects us majorly. And then ultimately that affects the most important thing, is our relationships. Whether you believe in God or not, you have a relationship, a spiritual being, right? Your family at home, spouse, kids. If you're showing up and you're not your best self, it affects them. And that's intolerable. Like, how could you ever show up for your kids or your loved ones and not be at your best and get angry and be irritable and be worried over money? Do you have people at home?
Sure do.
Do you ever go home stressed out and it affects them?
Without question.
Right? Like,
They
what?
get my worst.
And what the hell? They should get your best. So if you don't develop self-mastery, everyday life events and bigger moments are going to take a toll on you. And we take it out on the people we say we love most. Right? If I asked you all to write down what's your why, most of you who have kids, wives, husbands would write them down. But you're giving them a half-assed version of yourself? Fuck that. Right? So these things I'm teaching you and talking to you about will enhance the quality of your entire life. And it's the hardest thing because there's no guarantee. When I was in prison, no one said, Sean, if you just do these things, you're going to live the dream life one day. I didn't have a life coach in prison. There was no social media. I wasn't watching the gurus. It was just this feeling inside of me. And I knew I had to take those actions every day. And the reason I did it is because in that environment, it's so miserable. It's so negative. It's so dark. It's so dreary that I was able to start creating this light, this hope inside of me every day by doing the right thing. And so I became obsessed with creating and cultivating that energy every day. My biggest fear was that I was going to wake up or get out and suddenly that spark was going to be gone. Like, it was the best thing going from being this loser, drug addict, failure in life to somebody that I was proud of. It was the best thing. So my sole purpose in those moments became keeping that energy alive. I wanted to keep that energy alive and share it with people and share it with my family and share it with the world when I came home. And then, progressively, things got better. And when I got out, I was valuable for people. And then I built the right relationships and I got opportunities, and now I'm here. Like, it's crazy. Not that long ago, I was a drug addict. Not that long ago, I was in prison. Now I have a 7-figure coaching business. I speak. I've done a TED Talk. I have clients all over the country. The results come when you become the person that can create those outcomes. That's it. All right, so I'll answer any questions you guys might have before we wrap it up. If anybody feels like they should ask a question, you have something on your heart you want to share, I would compel you to do so. Because when you hold stuff in and you're scared to be, judged, you're scared to sound stupid, like, you just hold yourself back. You got to get to a point where you're like, bro, I appreciate you. Like, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm struggling with. That's how you start to change your life. Anybody else have something they want to share or contribute? Let's hear it. Yeah.
So how do you find balance in your life with social media? Like, clearly you have to use it to promote and like business and then stay in touch with everybody. Like, how do you?
Yeah, it's a fine line, you know. Most people abuse social media. I go on it to create an impact. So I try not to I don't watch nonsense. I don't just go on TikTok and watch reels. I don't watch YouTube videos. I go on there and I create content. And then I'll kind of check out some of the people that I need to check out or message with them. And then I use it as a tool. Like, just like my car. I get in my car and I go from point A to point B. I try to use social media like that. But it's discipline. And it's something that we have to develop within ourselves. Like, If I wasn't working out or being good with my diet or being disciplined in other areas, sure as hell would have no chance to do it on social media. That thing's addicting as hell, right? So it's a balance for me. And I just notice if I'm keeping stress low, like if I'm doing the right thing in my life, that phone doesn't get to me. But as soon as I'm like kind of getting off track a little bit or, just not being the person I want to be, I start noticing the phone and like being on social media will affect me. I don't know if that makes sense, but. So are you asking for you personally or for me?
I was asking for you,
Yeah.
for me, obviously, because, I mean, like, I can feel myself, like you said, you can go on with an intention, and it's so addicting, like you said, something comes up,
Yeah.
and you're like, wait a minute, that's not what I was on here for.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to, like, gear back into, like.
And that's all you can do is you catch yourself. I do that. So first of all, like you said, have an intention when you go on. What are you going on to do? Then when you start getting off track, ask yourself, is this the best use of my time right now? And if it's not, put it away. And one thing that helps me is I always have a book with my phone. And so if I catch myself just doing mindless stuff on the phone that's not serving me, I'll be like, is this the best use of your time? And then I see the book right there, and I pick my book up and start reading. A book that all of you should get and read, write this down. It's called Letting Go. I believe it's by David R. Wright, or I might have mispronounced the name, but Letting Go. It's one of my favorite books ever. And it helps you to understand a lot of what I'm sharing right now, like what's happening internally in our lives when we're doing things that sabotage who we want to be, and like how to elevate beyond that. It's really profound. So I suggest you all read it, dissect it, take notes, underline stuff. One of my favorite books ever. Anybody else have, yeah.
How do we follow you or get more information?
Oh, yeah. So Facebook is, I'll write it on the board. Facebook's Sean Michael Crane with a S-E-A-N. And then Instagram is Sean_Crane_official. I just had to create a new account, so I had like 25,000 followers on Instagram, and then my account got messed up, so I had to start a brand new one. But that's the stuff that happens in life. Like you just pivot. Other people are like, oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? That's your business. That's your. So what? Like you just pivot and then you take action. But if I wasn't taking care of myself, that would have probably really pissed me off. Taking up a lot of my thoughts, my time and energy, worrying about it. Like worrying about stuff doesn't serve us. We have to be action takers, right? And like, yeah.
So if we had your old one, should we block that, or did that get hacked or something?
It's still active right now. Yeah, you can keep that one. You'll see when it shuts down. Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks. Sorry.
And then I have a book, Prison of Your Own. I don't know if any of you have seen it. Has anybody in here seen it? So Prison of Your Own. This book might really help too. When I came home, you can find it on Amazon.